Hey, I'm George, and I'm with Mrs. Kaywood. And so, where are you originally from?
From Cuba.
What are some details about Cuba?
Cuba is a communist country. It is not a democracy like we have in the United States. And a lot of things, where you live and the things you have, are issued to you by the government. So you don't always get a choice in the food that you get, or sometimes even the career that you have. It's what's available to you.
So, what did you do for a living there?
I left as a baby, so I didn't. My father was in construction, and he did some construction work, and my mother was a student when they left.
And what did you guys do in the country? Like, what were like some traditions?
In Cuba, there's a lot of family gatherings. Most of everything that we did revolved around family gatherings and religious holidays.
And why did you guys move to the United States?
There were more opportunities.
And how did you get there?
We came over by plane. So we came over on an airplane and went to Miami. And we lived in Miami for a number of years until I was about 6 years old. And then we moved to Pennsylvania.
Talk about the trip.
I don't remember much of the trip because I was so little when we came over. But from what I understand, it was just a regular plane ride that we came over.
So, what was the culture shock when around the U.S.?
When we moved to Miami, we lived in a part of Miami that had a lot of Cuban people there, so we were able to keep a lot of the Cuban culture while we lived there. But when I was little and we moved to Pittsburgh, it was a very big culture shock because most people in Pittsburgh did not speak English. In fact, when I was in school there, they had me do they had like an assessment that they would do for preschoolers before going to kindergarten. They had like an assessment like that, and they would say things and I would answer in Spanish. I would understand what they said, but I answered in Spanish because it was my first language, and they thought that I had a learning disability. So they wanted to put me in special school. And that was when my mom realized that we needed to speak English full time because people started to judge us for being different. And that was a little hard. That was definitely interesting.
So, what's the difference between Cuba and the U.S.?
I don't have too many memories about Cuba, but the memories are just what my parents described. It was a very, very simple way of life. It was always surrounded about family. It was a very, very family valued and family centered. Your family lived within blocks of you. So we were always together, and we always did things as a family unit, and everything really centered around being part of the community and around the church. And when we came to the United States, being far from family was a really different thing for us. And the big family meals and things were not something that was so typical here, and that's something that we've tried to keep in our tradition.
And what were was there like different like holidays and customs in Cuba?
One of the big differences that my mother still celebrates in Cuba, they celebrate your name day. So you have your birthday, and but you're usually named after a saint. So every saint has a special name day, and that was almost a bigger celebration than your birthday. So all the family would call and celebrate it. You'd get presents. So that was something that was a little different. So that I miss a little bit. It's actually kind of fun. My mom still does it.
Is there anything more about the customs and traditions?
One thing that's very different is the celebration of Christmas. Even though, being a predominantly Catholic island, we celebrated Christmas, but it wasn't such a big deal. We would go to church that day, but there were no presents, there was no Christmas tree. So what they did instead is on the 8th of January is the celebration of the Epiphany. The 6th of January is a celebration of the Epiphany. That was the day the three kings arrived to see baby Jesus in the stable. that was the day we would get presents. So none of the presents would arrive until the three kings brought them to you and left them for you by, you know, in the family room in the center part of the house. And that's when you would go and unwrap everything and celebrate our day that Jesus, you know, was able to give us gifts, because that's the day the kings brought them. So there really wasn't a huge celebration around Christmas like we have Christmas here.
Alright. Thank you.
So the person I interviewed, Mrs. Kaywood, she is a real thoughtful person, and she enjoys her life here in the U.S. And what I learned is that in Cuba, life is very simple and is based like around family. And it is also a Catholic country, so they celebrate religious holidays and go to church. And Cuba is also a communist country, so everything is like issued to them by the government. And she also told me that when she moved to the U.S., it was so they could have more opportunities. But when she moved to Pittsburgh, when she was little, she had trouble learning because she couldn't speak English, and it was really hard for her. And what we have similar with Cuba is that in the U.S., life involves family. And what I have in common with Mrs. Kaywood is that we're both Catholic, so we both go to church and celebrate religious holidays. But one difference is that Cuba is communist and the U.S. is democracy, so the U.S. has like a little more bit freedom. And also what's different is that in Cuba, they celebrate like a few different holidays. Like Christmas, they celebrate the Epiphany, but for the U.S. it's Christmas. And like for birthdays in Cuba, it's called your name day, but in here it's just normal birthdays. And when I grew up here in the U.S., I had a lot of opportunities like my parents did, and my dad has a good job, when my mom's a stay-at-home mom. But when she was little, her dad was a construction worker and her mom was a student, so they moved to the U.S. for like more opportunities.